Hello, I'm Simon Barnes, and I have the great honour and pleasure of being guest judge for the Keats-Shelley Prize and the Young Romantics Prizes this year. Contestants were asked to write poems on the subject of Songbird. I suppose they chose me for the role because when the wind is northerly, I know a whitethroat from a lesser whitethroat without needing to see it. I also wrote a book called Bird Watching with Your Eyes Closed. I'd like to apologise for that pheasant there. We're humans, and we all love a song. If a dog wanted to write a poem, he would do so in smell symbols. But we humans are creatures of sight and sound. We are all placental mammals, and we learn rhythm in the womb, but melody we pinched from the birds. We put the two things together, and that gave us music, that gave us song, and that gave us poetry. And perhaps that's what gave us language. And well, if birds gave us poetry, it seems to me that only fair that we should occasionally offer poetry back to them. Now, I have an ear as well as an eye for the wild world. When it comes to writing about nature, I know good observation when I see it. Observation is not everything, but observation, I think, is where it all begins. Find the bird song, and then the viewless wings of poesy will come afterwards. Hopkinson's woodlark, Clare's nightingale, and of course the nightingale and the skylark of Keats and Shelley all obey this rule, and I've attempted to judge in accordance with that rule. Listen to the damn bird, write him down, and your poetic soul will follow. There's a famous papyrus that shows the ancient Egyptian goddess Mart weighing the souls of the dead against a feather. And that's what the process of judging these competitions has been like, only harder. In some cases, there was not a barb or a barbule, scarcely a barbious cell to separate one poem or one essay from another. This high standard was as daunting as it was inspiring. And so, the runners-up of the Keats-Shelley Poetry Prize are Jill Sharp for a beautifully crafted poem called Cemetery Crow, which is strong enough to be grim without needing to revel in it, and Emma Simon for The Visitors, which is about the mystery that attends the arrival of a huge flock of geese, and hazard a guess that the geese in her poem were in fact pink-footed geese. The winner is Pascal Petit for a poem about the Indian paradise flycatcher. The male of this species has an absurdly long tail, which makes for a curious, bobbing sort of flight. It's a bird I know quite well, and the poem catches him beautifully, and then it flies or bobs sweetly off into contemplation of writing and of deep time. The Young Romantics Poetry Competition was full of life, and it made me long to be young again, and quite glad that I wasn't. The runners-up are Brigitte McKeever with Mockingbird, which goes in for some powerful, visceral imagery, and Maya Stokes for Promise of Angels, which is about a cage bird and has the best payoff line in either of the two competitions. The winner is Joyce Chen for Senbazuru. Here she writes about the paper cranes associated with the bombing of Hiroshima. And she manages to do so without sentimentality or synthetic anger. And this struck a personal chord as I had been researching some stuff on the paper cranes of Hiroshima for myself. The poem itself is subtle and memorable. The essay prizes are an invitation to us all to engage our brains with poetry, as well as our hearts and minds. Here, the runners-up for the Keats-Shelley Prize are Andre Gregus, who wrestled courageously to define the undefinable with sublimity in the poetry of Wordsworth and Shelley, and Sarah Doyle, who went mining for weather references in a study of romantic meteorology. The prize goes to Rosie Whitcomb for a study of the letters of Keats, which was full of stuff I hadn't read and gave a series of vivid vignettes of personality. I felt that I knew Keats better after reading this one. Now, I loved all the romantic essays, which brought in climate change and the ecological holocaust and related them to romantic poetry. The runners-up are Clementine Reed with The Romantic Imperative, Keats, Shelley and A Call to Action, and the idea that poetry can change our mindsets. And Jenny O'Gorman with Where Are the Songs of Spring, in which she says that Keats and Shelley can guide not only right thoughts, but right action. The prize goes to Esther Laird for Can Shelley Help Us Save the World? Here, the writer attempts a similar thing, but she has the wit to bring in one of the causes of the world's problems, that the leaders of the world are far too interested in holding on to power rather than using power to good purpose. The implication that Donald Trump is Ozymandias is worth the admission money on its own. So, thanks to everyone who entered. Thanks also to my fellow judges who had a much harder job than I did, and mine was hard enough in all conscience. Thanks also to everyone at the Keats-Shelley Memorial Association. I loved every moment of my involvement, and I can truthfully say that not once did a drowsy numbness pain my sense. So good luck to everyone, but double good luck to all the young romantics out there. They are inheriting a faulty planet with a malfunctioning air conditioning system. They need poetry and they need birdsong more than anybody.